Support Druid is going to bring 20% critical hit chance to the entire party, 15% attack speed buff to everyone, minimum of 10% resistances passively to the party that can periodically tick up. We're looking at them applying a ton of slows, vulnerabilities, poisons to open up a whole lot of synergies. You can specifically target into even stuns, which I know a lot of classes specifically want stuns. You have 3 big meat shields that's going to take pressure off the party, a safety dome that when it procs gives you full invulnerability for the entire group who stands in, as well as the Envenom passive, because we do bring an extra 20% critical hit chance for the entire party. Envenom, in my testing, has worked to increase the damage taken by critical strikes from party members. I'm sorry for the elevator pitch, but I know a lot of people are going to be like, why the heck would I want to support Druid? What does that do? So hey guys, it's Cole, and this is probably one of the most exciting videos for me to do because this is a playstyle that I personally absolutely love, and this is one of the biggest draws for Diablo 4 in general to me. I love the werewolf builds and all that, but you know what, my heart really lies in supports and minions, and I'm really enjoying this whole lot. But as you can tell on my channel, I haven't uploaded in a few days because I was doing quite a lot of research, and one thing I can say is there are a lot of synergies and a lot of potential support builds here with a lot of potential in them. A lot of potential, I should say. I did a massive Google sheet with literally hours upon hours, obscene amount of time put into that Google sheet. And if you want me to do that and really go through that, let me know in the comments. But that video, I'm warning you, is not going to be like an 8-minute short one like this. It's going to be at least a 20-minute long video because I went deep. So the fundamental understanding of the support druid is you're gonna be really garbage when you're in solo. And I'm not gonna lie, this build is not the build I'd take solo. My Stormwolf build is way better for solo, undeniably, indisputably. But when you are going into group content, especially organized group content, and I don't mean like the groups even splitting off into all the corners, which this build does do fine, and you can see footage of me actually doing it. But I feel like in organized group content or world bosses that this build absolutely shines. I think when we get to the point months into the game's life cycle, because remember, we're still not even at the 2-week mark yet, I think that they are going to be a lot of very hard dungeons tackled with 4-man groups, and I think that this is going to be a very, very, very desirable party member. I'm actually really looking forward to it. This build, I'm going to say, is all about slowing targets, applying a lot of vulnerability, having stuns. It's going to be about the meat shields. Everything that we said in the elevator pitch, I was able to bring in here. Probably the one failing of this build is I do not have any uniques, which has limited my poison access because poison generators for the druid are Fierce Claw, Raging Shred, Poison Creeper, Rabies, and Werewolf skill crits via Toxic Claws. So if we are looking at Envenom passive and it does work how I tested it, this is going to fall a little bit short from that. And so the Tempest Roar will help a bit for that. But this recommendation, because I keep hearing it all the time, will not have uniques in it. I'm definitely not going to include any here because I know they're not easy for everyone to access. So I'm going to be showing you the skills in game, and so we're going to be starting off with the basic skill. Wind Shear is what I went with, frankly, because I've done Storm Strike pretty much this entire game's release, and so Wind Shear does let you apply vulnerability. It has a 20% chance vulnerable for 4 seconds. That's pretty long. That's pretty good. In AoE situations, you can hit a lot of things, as well as you are definitely a bit squishier. I found myself excessively squishier on this than my Stormwolf. So there's that. Passives, obviously we're going to choose Heart of the Wild, Abundance of Wild Impulses. I see it very hard to not justify those. Tornado is going to be our primary ability just because it does seek out targets. We have the Legendary that helps it seek out targets. It is going to be applying a whole lot of damage. Well, relatively a whole lot of damage, as well as you are going to be applying vulnerabilities. You can change it to do slows if you want. Really, it is totally up to you, and it's interchangeable. So if you find you're good on vulns, change it to slow. Critical strike chance against close enemies, we just want more crit strike chance, frankly. It's always going to be pretty healthy. Cyclone armor we're taken to passively boost the entire team's defenses. And the nice thing about cyclone armor is you can either choose the 30% damage reduction periodically, or you can swap it to be vulnerable. And so again, this build does leave you with options that you can really fine tune it to what you need. Bloodhowl is going to be pivotal to the it's really the centerpiece of any support druid build, because you're giving the team a little bit of a heal, you're giving them the attack speed buff with the passive, and you are going to be giving them that crit buff. It is very, 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 very much mandatory. I cannot see a support build that would not use it and still call it that. Wolves, their damage is horrible. They desperately need a buff. You literally, and I kid you not, you literally could probably justify multiplying their damage by 10 in order to make it viable. I have tried it, and even though we are going to be taking werewolf legendaries, we are not taking it for the damage because they don't do damage. And so we're just going in wolves. This should be 1 point. You're going to see 4 here. That's from items. 1 point, just the meat shields. Damage to distant enemies is free damage. You're going to barf crowd control everywhere. Poison Creeper, I think, was good, but is it as good as Petrify that we're going to be talking about in a moment? No. Elemental Exposure is storm skills have a chance to make enemies vulnerable. And look at Lucky Hit. Lucky Hit is in its tooltip. You're going to see our stats and how we focus in on that later. Neurotoxin, poisoned enemies are slowed by 8%. This lets your werewolves that apply rabies slow enemies. That's a form of crowd control. That's going to be very good. And then Envenom is poisoned enemies take 30% additional critical strike damage. This I have tested in game. It was working. I'm very impressed with it, actually. But again, if evidence comes out that that's not how it works and my numbers are somehow flawed, I am totally going to change this build. But I, in my personal testing so far with my boyfriend, it has shown to be a increase. A little less than I expected. I expected a little bit higher, but it has been an increase. And then Petrify is going to be the build that the final ability that I do recommend for this build for general usage. Without any uniques, without any werewolf stuff. You can obviously swap it out for more ability with Trample. I went with Petrify, and people are going to be like, what the fuck? You used a different ultimate than Grizzly Rage. So if you look at my cooldown here, there's a lot of cooldown that you can stack up. There are a lot of spirit boons that let you lower the cooldown even further, as well as extend its duration. Crowd control duration extended applies to Petrify. This lasts a very, very long time with this build. Petrify is incredibly, ridiculously powerful in this build. Then Defiance, free damage, Circle of Life, healing, Resonance. It's like 2% more damage a point, but it's fine. And then Perfect Storm is we are getting more spirit, we're getting a little bit more damage. And so that is going to lead us into the spirit boons. Deer, wariness, you can justify crowd control of reduction if you want. We are looking at for the Eagle critical strike chance. Again, you could slot around some points and do critical strike damage if you really wanted. Energize would be the one floater point. I like more spirit just so I can spam more tornadoes because those are so effective. Calamity, extend the duration of Petrify in our instance by 25%. It really, really does go crazy, guys. And then Calm Before the Storm is nature magic skills have a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill. And that gets us into the gear. And do I have best in slot stats? No, I really was trying hard. So before I even get into it, the stats that you want is Lucky Hit above anything else. That is going to be probably your most important stat. You really do want critical strike chance, and then you do want a lot of cooldown reduction. If you see Ranks of Wolves, which is on the helmet that I'm showing right now, not such a big deal. So for the helmet, you can see really emphasizing on cooldown reduction. Then you have 20% increased crowd control duration while enemies are unstoppable. You are going to deal more damage. Really, we're doing this for the crowd control duration. Going into Petrify. Chest, primarily you're going to focus on defensive stats. Companion skill damage has completely, bafflingly disappointed me. But for the legendary, we're going to go with Cyclone Armor. Get it around everyone. Passive mitigation. And then for the gauntlets or the arms or whatever you want to call it, we are looking at that lucky hit chance. This is one, it's between the gloves and the rings to get lucky hit chance. This needs to have lucky hit chance on it, in my opinion, for this build to function. Get lucky hit chance. And then you have increased critical hit chance against injured enemies, whatever. The second line, while healthy, you get up to 40% increased crowd control duration. Petrify is going to last a really long time. And then defensive stats are what you should really be going for on your pants. I'm not impressed with rabies. I guys, you can see I tried so freaking hard to make this work. No, it's garbage. But this is going to have the bubble legendary, really good. We're going to be looking at when you hit a crowd controlled enemy, there's a 30% chance to spread that to another unaffected enemy. Really good. What you really want here is you want movement speed above anything else that's best in slot stat. They have reduced mob density, best in slot stat, spirit cost reduction as well as really good. And then for the staff, obviously you want Blood Howl on it. I did get a perfect Blood Howl on this, which I'm very freaking happy with. It is a 20% increase. Holy shit, is it amazing. But in terms of the stats, really damage to crowd controlled enemies, you don't really get anything too funky. And then Amulet, you are really going to be looking for cooldown reduction, you're going to be looking for spirit cost reduction, and the legendary we're putting on it is tornado seeking targets. It's really good. And then rings, again, lucky hit chance. This is also your chance to get critical strike chance. And oh yeah, the legendary should be wolf companions are now werewolf companions. We put the tornado chases targets on the amulet so it would chase more targets. The ring is werewolf companions because frankly the damage bonus multiplying double this double of nothing is nothing. And then gain one additional companion just for meat shield on the ring. Again, lucky strike chance and then critical strike chance. Paragon boards are shockingly easy to recommend here. So the first one, you are definitely, because I know a lot of people are going to be lower level, you want the exploit glyph before anything. If you do not have the exploit glyph, you are going to be mad at yourself. It makes such a difference because it applies vulnerable to targets instantly. Now, the next board that I went with was I was immediately going for Constricting Tendrils. Remember how I said Lucky Hit's so important for like the Storm skills to apply vulnerability? Now, it works with Constricting Tendrils. Lucky Hit with Nature Magic is going to apply Poison, which was something we were missing from this build originally, right? Because we don't have the werewolf synergy, but also it's immobilizing them. It's incredibly, incredibly good. I went with this glyph here, the tracker one, because poisoning damage effects last 33% longer. They're going to be the hardest effect for us to get out of this build. Slows, easy. Vulnerabilities, easy. Poison, not so easy. And so this has been amazing. Absolutely recommend this board. The next board that we're going to be looking at is going to be Lust for Carnage. Werewolf skills restore to spirit. This is because this is a leftover, so I don't really recommend this board if you are going without the unique, but this is what I'm currently going with, and I am very impressed with Earth and Sky just because it increases storm nature magic damage, and so it also is gonna just increase all the nodes around it. That one I recommend regardless if you're werewolf build or not. And then the last board that I'm really recommending is going to be the Ancestral Guidance because you are going to be spamming out so many tornadoes. And then that's going to go with the glyph of this one, which I tried the companion skill glyph, the wilds one. I am not impressed. There are other glyphs that I'd recommend. Like I would probably pick Guzzler would be one because you're going to be really high health a lot of the time. I'm truly not super impressed with the companions one. And with that, I think I'm done on that end. To wrap everything up in a bow, you're really bringing all of that utility to the party with this build. Your Petrify is going to last a ridiculous amount of time. So much lucky hit chance that you're going to have no issue getting the vulnerabilities out. Your storm skills are going to just be dumping out so much crowd control. You are going to literally be dominating the field a ton. That's not even including buffing allies. How could I even miss that? So I really do think that this fits the support niche fully. I think that when you're playing this, I think especially when we get into harder content, your werewolves are going to take on a little bit of stragglers, get a little bit of pressure off the party. You are truly going to be a force to be reckoned with and a huge essential member of the team. I really love this build, and I hope that you have a lot of fun with it. Sorry about the delay in getting it out, guys. It's just there were so many options, and I want to make a good recommendation. I actually went with Petrification. Holy shit. I'm kind of shocked about that, but guys, it's paid off.